Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Nahmaduhu, asta'inuhu, astaghfiruhu, wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. وَأَتَّسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent down, God Almighty, that nobody can mess with it. We know God had been sending messengers and revelations since Adam. But in His rahmah, His mercy, He sent with the last messenger this wahi that will not be tampered with, cannot be tampered with. And this is a big mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I spent almost 50 years, I'm just talking about my personal thing, trying to understand. When you read the Bible, the translation in English, you have a sense that it must be from God. The Old Testament seemed like it must be from God, but still there's some things in there that don't make sense. Even in the very beginning. I'm working on some of the issues right now for the internet. Just looking at it today and thinking about it. It's very clear somebody played with it. Especially, and we all know this very well about Abraham, alayhi salam. Ibrahim had 2 sons. And what's the first one? Ismail, which they call Ishmael. Then Ishaq. Isaac came later. But you look in the Bible, and it said that God commands him to sacrifice his son. Then it says, your only son. And then it says, Isaac, Ishaq. And you're like, huh? You just got through spending a whole chapter telling me about the older brother from Hajar, telling us in details. That's his first son. He waited all these years, and he finally had a son, and now he's so happy, and he has to sacrifice his son. Very next chapter, turn the page, and there it is. Sacrifice your son. Your only son, and he hadn't even been born yet. Because in the next chapter, it tells you about Hajar, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, how does that work? It's very clear somebody played with that to try to prove their point. Has to be from our guys, not those guys. We know, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that there is no question about it. You can see very clearly, even looking at the Bible and looking at the Quran, you can see they're parallel except where the people played with it. You can tell because we still have the same thing. We have Abraham. He has a child named Ismail. That's his first child. It's 13 years before he has another child. And when Allah is testing him, the child is still a young baby, leaving him in the desert with Hajar. And it's very clear. But that same chapter is in the Bible. Did you know that? Talking about how he leaves her there with a baby. And the baby's crying. And yet, we find in the verse before that saying, your only son. Now, that's obviously for us, we can see what we even know who and why they did it. But you can't do that to the Quran. Some people tried. Some people, even today, try to take something and get a meaning out of it for themselves. For instance, some Muslims want to justify the fact that they're heavy-handed. Some men slap their wives around. And then they want to say, well, it's okay in Islam because there's a verse in the Quran that said I can slap my wife. It doesn't say that, though. If you read the tafsir, it's very clear. What وَضْرِبُهُنْ is not that you can beat up your wife at all. Maybe it's better for me, huh? I don't know what we can do about that. He said that the ladies can't hear upstairs. Where's the mic for them? Is this the only mic I got, right? That's it. Let me use that one. I'll hold it up here. No, just hand it to me. Don't make a problem for yourself. There we go. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. How's this? Ladies, if you can hear me now, that's good. Otherwise, if you still can't hear me, it means the other ladies are talking too much. You have to tell them to be quiet. You know what I mean? Taqallah. Brothers, by the way, why don't you scoot forward while we're on the subject here of taking care of things here in the masjid. Scoot forward, make some room here for other brothers. And get off that wall back there. You don't need to hold it up. It'll stay fine without you. Get up here. Don't make me come back here and get you. Get off the wall. Where do you think you are anyway? You didn't train these guys very good. All right. Now, I want to come back to this subject because this is key to showing you one of the many facets, the many parts of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to consider how He sent down Quran for us and He doesn't allow it to be changed. Nobody can come and justify the evil things that they do and say, well, the Quran said, because anybody that's got a half a brain can go to the Arabic and look and see the tafsir, look at the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and see clearly when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded us with the khutbah wada, the famous sermon, the last and farewell sermon, he said clearly, don't ever hit your wives. He made that clear. He didn't mince any words about it. And in his own example, read and see what it says. Never did he put his hands on his wives. Nor did he tolerate when people would be abusive, even to animals, much less other human beings. You can't play with it, right? Okay, so that we know when somebody does something like that and try to blame it on the Quran or blame it on the religion, not only has he committed the sin, the first sin, which is very evil, second sin is the act of kufr. Because when you deny what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when you go against the Quran, you go against the Sunnah and claim something else about it, what is that? What is it? It's the worst kind of liar there is. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfect person. Everybody knows, we're all human beings. But, for instance, if somebody, and I heard this just the other day, the two women arguing, not arguing, what do you call manadara? Debate. They're debating over the subject of the hijab in France because they put a ban against it in France. The women can't show up with niqab. She can't cover her whole face. So the woman arguing, supposed to be a Muslim, arguing and saying that, she doesn't believe that this is a big thing for Islam. We shouldn't worry about it. And then and of course she has no hijab at all. For her, and she says it, there's nothing in Quran about that. There's nothing in Quran about hijab. Well, now if you're ignorant and you don't know, you can say, I didn't see anything about it. Okay, that would be fair because it means you didn't read it. But if you're supposed to be an expert talking about Islam and you say that's not in the Quran, and there's two places this is in the Quran, by the way. What is that? And what's funny, Allah gives the tawfiq, the success, to the one who's on the haqq. Because the other lady, who's totally covered up, they put her on TV. She's totally covered up. She had a much better speech, much more eloquent, very clear English. The other lady's having a problem with it. And she brought, very nice, very sweet, never interrupted. If the other people start talking, she'd just be quiet. And then she'd get her point across. At the end, even the man who was supposed to be neutral, the one interviewing him, he works with a TV company. He says to the lady with no hijab, he says to her, Seems like I keep hearing you say I, and me. You're not bringing anything from the religion. It sounds like it's your own personal problem. Boom, just like that. Imagine this. See how Allah, He will put the tawfiq, the success, with the one who's on the truth. Now I want to mention one other. The other one is when a non-Muslim begins to say things that are in the Quran that are not there, or try to give the wrong meaning to something. This happened about maybe 10, 12 years ago. I used to be in Washington, D.C. I was the National Muslim Chaplain for a while, and the one who succeeded after me, he took over when I left, told me a story what happened. They brought somebody to debate from Louisiana out to Washington to go to the American University there. And they wanted me to debate, and I wouldn't do it. And I told him not to do it either, just let it go. He said, no, I'm going to do it. So he did. And then he told me what happened. He said they let the other person speak first. He's a pastor from some church, and he got up and, if you want to talk about what you have, I don't have a problem with that. You know, if you sell cars, okay, and you want to talk about your cars, go ahead. But if you sell cars and all you do is insult somebody else's car lot, you don't have time to talk about your own car, or you're just insulting the other guys all the time, I don't want to hear that. Do you? That doesn't sound right. Does it? No. It sounds like you got a problem. And that's exactly what this guy did. He got up there and he started insulting right away. The Quran says that you can just kill anybody you want to kill them. You can do this, you can do it. And he was trying to make it look like the Muslims are a bunch of cutthroat, bloodthirsty terrorists. This is what he wants to get across to the people. Now, this is a big mistake. Come all the way to Washington, D.C. to do that, because this is a very international city anyway, number one. Number two, almost everybody there was a Muslim. So it wasn't very brilliant to do that. But still, when my friend got up to take over, he said, before I do anything else, I'd like to welcome our visitor who has come all the way from Louisiana to be with us, and welcome all of your guests here. And we hope you get some benefit from our program. So he gave a nice introduction. The other guy didn't do that. And then he turned and he looked at him. He said, but before I give my speech, I'd just like to ask you a question. Which of the two reasons did you say what you said about the Quran? Was it because you really didn't know? Or was it because you're lying? Which of the two is it? And the guy was like, huh? He said, the Quran never been changed in 1400 years. We know exactly what it says. I'll tell you what it says in Arabic, so you can hear it. This is the same as it came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam 1400 years ago. It says, waqtuluhum. And how you translated that, or wherever you got that, you didn't read the rest of it. Because qitl means to be in combat. It means to be in a fight. Whether it's one person fighting another person, or if it's a whole bunch of people fighting other people, it means fighting that can lead to mortal combat. People can be killed. This is what it's talking about. And you said that it says that God is ordering the people to go out and just kill everybody. Wherever you find them, just kill them. And how does it come? It's in the context. You've got to go back to verse 189. It's in Surah Baqarah. And when they said, Yasalunika, this is how it starts out. And that means Allah is saying to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're asking you, the people who are asking, the people there, the Muslims, are asking him, what about the new moons? What about the sighting of the moon and that? And he tells them, what is the sighting of the moon for? Well, Ramadan is one of the things. Also Hajj. So we know when Hajj begins. And the Muslims were very concerned about some superstitions they had about going in the back doors, front doors, and, you know, if you go through the back doors, like good luck or something like this. They said, no, just go through the houses, but proper doors. Piety, righteousness has nothing to do with that. This is superstition. Then it tells them in the next verse about what to do when you're in the pilgrim dress. They have only 2 towels. A man has 2 towels. He got nothing else on. 2 towels. That's it. Slippers, 2 towels, not a mas. Nothing else. What's he going to do like this if somebody attacks him? Well, that's not very fair, is it? And the pilgrims had always believed, through their superstitions and so on, over the centuries, that before Islam came, the pagans, I'm talking about the idol worshippers, they thought that anytime you're in this dress, you can't fight back. People can slaughter you. And then it happened. They get robbed, they get slaughtered. But now God is telling them, now, when you go in your pilgrim dress, when you go back to Mecca, then you can fight the people if they fight you. And that's what it says. Read the whole verse. Now he's going to read the verses to them. Fight those that fight you. Turn them out from where they turned you out, because these are the people who have been kicked out of Mecca for believing in one God instead of the idols. But don't, look at this, don't transgress. Don't you exceed the bounds, because then you're the madlum. You're the one doing the zalimun, the wrongdoing. You're the bad guy, evildoer. And verily Allah, He doesn't like these guys. So it came with a clear warning. Then the next verse says, and kill them wherever you find them. And again, that's mortal combat. It says it like that, but you have to read it in context, because these people are killing you. And they're turning them out from where they turned you out. Obviously, we just said that. They're going back to their own homes that they'd been abandoned for so many years. Could go back and claim their property if they wanted to. So it was a whole different understanding if you read all of it. But when you only read half the verse and then filled in the blanks. So the question, and he turns to him again, he said, so the question, which is it? You didn't know, or you were intentionally lying? The guy never had anything else to say after that. And at the end of the debate, the Christians who brought him had already left, and they were nowhere to be found. He tried to contact somebody to take him back to the motel to help him out. He couldn't find anybody. Guess who had to take him back and take care of him? The Muslim man, my friend. Took him back, and he said in the car as they were going back, he asked, the man asked him, he said, this is the Quran, you have all of it, yeah? He said, then he saw the man tearing up some stuff in his hand, some out of yellow pages, you know. He said, what are you doing? He said, I'm tearing up all of my notes that I got off that website. He said, I'm not ready to be a Muslim, but I'm definitely not going to go to those websites anymore. And all of this is coming about by, not because of us. No, it's because of Allah preserving this so we can have it to show people what it really says. Whenever I'm sharing this message with the Christians, I want to insist to them that you're following Jesus. You need to really understand what He said. You're not following the people that came after Him, because that's where the problems will come. Go back and see what Jesus really said. Even in the Bible today, I can take them to the verses. If they leave out what other people's comments and letters and things, just say what Jesus actually said, and tell me that you can come up with these kind of crazy ideas. It's not there. It's not Islam that was spread by the sword. It's not. There's no word sword anywhere in the Quran. Do you know that? We have many words in the Arabic language for sword. Hussam, Saif, Muhammad, many words. Not one of them is in the Quran. However, the word sword, S-W-O-R-D, is all over the Bible, and most of it's in the last 27 books, called the New Testament. According to their book, themselves, it says that Jesus told them, don't think I came with peace, I came with a sword. That's pretty clear. It's time to sell your coat and buy a sword. That's not in the Quran, that's in the Bible. So when people have a chance to really examine and look at it, and then I explain to them, it's not because there's something wrong with Jesus or the message that He came with. The problem is the people afterwards. People trying to, in some cases, they're just playing for their children, making up stuff about somebody called Santa Claus, making up stuff about the Easter Bunny, things which we're forbidden to do, by the way. Muslims cannot lie to their children like that. This is a big sin, huge, to lie to the children. We are commanded to have the compassion and understanding, not just for our Muslim brothers and sisters, but for everybody. Whether we're talking about our parents, our spouses, our children, our neighbors, brothers and sisters, or even somebody we don't know them. We must have rahmah for other people. Otherwise, how do we expect Allah to have any rahmah for us? And I'm very proud to be here in this place right now because I heard that this story of compassion is being equated right here into this very area, in this part of Arkansas. And I like that. That's a good chance for us as Muslims to show the real compassion, to show the real rahmah, and invite others to come and learn about it. Because maybe, just maybe, some of the people could open their eyes. Maybe they don't want to be a Muslim, that's up to them, but at least could open their eyes and see that they're not that far away. If they're a good Christian and a good Muslim, when they come together, should have a pretty good time, shouldn't they? Let's make dua about that, inshallah. For the last 3 years, and it's been elevated from the internet, became 3 years ago on the satellite, and then 2 years ago on the apps, and you can now get it on any phone anywhere in the world and watch it. And recently, September last year, we began adding antennas. We have an antenna in New York, an antenna in two stations actually in Dallas and Fort Worth, one in Columbus, Ohio, and another one that's in Los Angeles. These antennas now mean that somebody doesn't even need the cable anymore. They don't need the internet. They don't need the satellite. They can just buy the TV and get like what they used to call rabbit ears, something like this, put it on there, and they can be watching it in those cities. Again, Los Angeles, New York, Columbus, Ohio, and Dallas and Fort Worth. With your support, we're going to take this to another level and put it also in Chicago, inshallah, Orlando, Florida, inshallah, Atlanta, Georgia, and also in San Francisco and a couple other cities. I'm telling you so that you can get in on this on the ground floor, because those people who help establish this now will be getting the reward for this as it goes on and on, even after we're gone. It's called in Arabic, Sadaqa Jariyah. And if you want to cash in on that, this is your opportunity. All that we do, 100% of it is only for this project. It means that except for it, just what it takes for my guys to live, other than do it. And because we do it this way, we do not take commercials. There's no advertising. There's no infomercials. And there's no subscriptions. That means that it really is free, and a very good chance that somebody would tune into it, like in the hotels, motels, and the new apartments when they put them up and they don't want to put those cables in there, in the hospitals, places like this, when they just turn on the TV and, oh, there it is. And that's the way we want to keep it. There's no subscription and no ads. Everything there is about Islam, Islam, Islam. When we say we're going to take a break and we'll be back after these messages, they really are messages from hadith, du'as, and things to say when there's going to be a rainstorm, what to say when you're putting on your garments, what to say when you're going to go out to work, what to say if you need something, or if you heard some real bad news. All of these things, there's a famous dua that, alhamdulillah, we need to know these, and these are coming on for our children. Now I want to end this by saying something else. The feature of our being here, our project, entitled this weekend, is about compassion, today and tomorrow. We're going to be talking about that. Well, tomorrow morning, I guess we're going to be leaving for Chicago. I don't know. But so you can get the idea, this compassion, this rahmah, is a specialty for us. It really is. We should be focused on it all the time anyway, but here's a good chance for us to share with our neighbors and friends to know about real compassion, real mercy. And our Prophet ﷺ was called by Allah in the Quran that he was the rahmat to the alameen. He is the mercy, the compassion to the human beings. So to study his life, to learn about the real Muhammad, is something we've been featuring on the TV channel for quite a while. If you go there about any time of the day, you're going to see non-Muslim people, famous ones who talked about Muhammad and said wonderful things about him because they studied the real Muhammad and didn't take it off a website. You know what I mean? So check it out and watch that, and we'll have it on there today and tomorrow. You can watch it through Sunday. Even though we won't still be here, we'll be up in Chicago. But in the meantime, you'll be able to use that and continue to use it as a dawah tool, inshallah. Now let us make some dua for, as we're supposed to do on Friday anyway, for our Prophet and for ourselves, inshallah. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد الحمد لله رب العالمين هو الذي جعل المسلمين إقام الصلاة